Joining me now is Sir Kim Darroch. He's British ambassador to the U.S., and we're happy to have you here today. We are going to certainly talk about the royal wedding, as Shep Smith teased. But I do want to start with this news that just broke, that Assad has traveled to Russia. What do you make of that?
I think you'd have to first ask why President Putin thinks it's a good idea to host someone who has gassed his own people, who's responsible for such huge displacement, 500,000 Syrians dead as a result of the civil war. I think it's a pretty extraordinary thing to do.
And it was just this week that your government actually was very clear with the Russians about what had happened in your own country to Russian nationals that were living there.
Yes, I mean, there's a track record here of Russians actually using nerve agents against people on foreign soil. And there was a very strong international response to that. But, you know, the message perhaps hasn't got through as we would like to have done.
We showed Mr. Tusk there with his comments. Certainly the United States and the UK have a special relationship, but sometimes it's not without tension, and obviously the Iran deal is one of those. Where do you think things go from here from the UK standpoint?
First of all, it's a very close relationship, and one of the aspects of a close relationship is when you have disagreements, you can discuss them openly and frankly and try and find a way forward. We would like to retain the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, provided that the Iranians stay in compliance. Prime Minister met the German Chancellor and the French President yesterday, and that's their position too, and that was the substance of a joint statement. But this is a debate or a disagreement with the United States, not about objectives, we all share the same objectives, but about means. And some of the issues that concern the United States, like the ballistic missile program or Iran's regional activities in Lebanon, in Syria, in Yemen, are issues that we absolutely share these concerns. So we want to work on those, on addressing those, while keeping the JCPOA. Maybe we can work with the US administration on those areas now.
Do you think it's possible that the UK and others would help the United States in tightening sanctions against Iran?
I think that's a question for the future. We have to see, first of all, how the sanctions regime here unfolds.
Right.
But I should be clear that in saying we want to support the deal, we are not the UK and not our European partners intending ourselves to reimpose sanctions on Iran. We're intending to keep to the deal, which is meant to stop the Iranian nuclear program, but also to ensure that there aren't the sanctions against Iran.
Is any of that going to color the discussions on trade that now that the Europeans are having also with the United States? It's not just China and NAFTA, but there's also this issue that's going in front of the EU?
Yeah, we hope not. We have an exemption as the European Union on the measures on steel and aluminium, I think until the end of this month. We would like a permanent extension. We are talking to the administration now, the EU is talking to the administration about what they need to grant that permanent extension. We hope we can find a way forward. I mean, these moves, this dispute is based on Article 232, which is about national security. And we're very strong national security partners of the US, so it doesn't feel right to us that this should be directed against the UK.
So in the meantime, you have some exciting news happening over in the UK. Shepard Smith is there for the royal wedding. Are you surprised that Americans are so excited about this nuptials on Saturday?
I've been here 2 years. Before you come here, you hear how fascinated and enthusiastic the American people are about our royal family, but you have to be here to experience it. And there's an extraordinary level of interest and enthusiasm. But then, of course, there's something special about this one, which is that Prince Harry, who is a much-loved, much-respected and very charismatic figure who served alongside American troops in Afghanistan, he's marrying an American, which is wonderful.